Hi everyone, welcome to Turn Back the Clock with Stock. This is going to be a weekly history series. You guys know I'm not a history teacher, but I think it's important to know a little bit about the history of the country we're studying and the influence that it's had. I'm going to be using my calendrier d'histoire française to help me out. And this week, several important things have happened in French history. On the 24th in 1694, we had the first French dictionary ever published. It was presented to Louis XIV, the Sun King. And on the 27th in 1789, we had the Declaration of les droits de l'homme. Now this was very similar to our Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. That was during the French Revolution that happened. I'm going to talk, though, this week about Saint Louis. Louis IX. He was King of France, and on the 28th in 1248 he led the 7th Crusade to Jerusalem to liberate it and return it to Christian rule. His first stop was in Egypt. Now the natives of Egypt, the Egyptians, they were familiar with the topography and the weather and everything, and they knew that the Nile was about to flood. The French soldiers didn't, and so what Louis had planned to be just a short rest and replenishing their supplies turned out to be a little bit more destructive and difficult for his troops. It was an unsuccessful crusade. Jerusalem remained under Muslim control. But the people, when he returned to France, the people did not blame him for anything. He had always been a popular king. He always remained a popular king. Now, another important event in Saint Louis's life was on the 25th in 1270, so 22 years later. And here during his second crusade, he was actually in Tunis. He was on the way again back to Jerusalem, but he stopped in Tunis this time, in Tunisia, and he died of dysentery. Some of his entrails, those are the organs, various organs. They were buried there on the spot, and a tomb was constructed for him, and you can still visit that tomb even today. His heart was placed in an urn. On the way back they went through Italy, and it is now in the Basilica of Monreale in Palermo, Italy. Now, before his body was moved out of Egypt, something was performed on it called mos teutonicus. And that was a common procedure in the Middle Ages. It was where the flesh was boiled away from the body, and it only left the bones. There's a wonderful Brother Catfile story by Ellis Peters called The Pilgrim of Hate. You can watch the video or read the book, but mos teutonicus, it happens in there, and that's where they discover what choked the guy to make him die. Anyway, back to Saint Louis. So, he has all of his flesh burned away. Remember, he had dysentery. That's highly contagious. And so burning away the flesh, it got rid of the disease, and his bones are now safe for travel. When he got back to France, the bones were interred in Saint-Denis. All kings of France are entombed there in Saint-Denis. However, in the late 16th century, France went through what was called the Wars of Religion, and this was a war between the Catholics and the Protestants. Saint-Denis was raided, a lot of the tombs were destroyed, and Saint-Denis, or Saint Louis's body, disappeared. However, one finger remains, and that's all we have of him. Now, part of Saint Louis's legacy, probably the major part of his legacy, is the Sainte-Chapelle. The Sainte-Chapelle is a beautiful chapel right in the heart of Paris. It's on the same island where Notre Dame is. You have to go down the street and turn to get to it, but it's very close. And Saint Louis felt that he had acquired Christ's crown of thorns, and he wanted an appropriate place to display it. So he had this chapel built. It's often considered one of the jewels of Gothic architecture. It truly is beautiful, especially when you get to the second level and see all of the stained glass. Now, I've been there several times. I've never seen the crown of thorns. There's always construction or renovation going on, so they always have it put away for safekeeping. And it's a beautiful, beautiful chapel. Saint Louis, of course, we have St. Louis named after him. Go to the St. Louis Art Museum. You'll see a beautiful statue in front of the Art Museum of him, an equine statue. And that's history for this week. That's French history for this week. Saint Louis left for the 7th Crusade on the 28th, and on the 25th, he died. So, there you go. See you guys next week.